Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. My name is Gabrielle Ray and I am here with another missing persons case. If you didn't know already, I do videos on unsolved homicides, missing people, and unidentified persons. In today's case, we'll be talking about Karen Kamsch, who disappeared from Pasadena, Maryland on January 9th, 1976. Now, the dates of this case can be a little bit complicated because on some websites, it states that the disappearance is on June 1st, 1976, and others have reported October 1st, 1976. But we will get into the details of why as the video continues. Karen was born on January 19th, 1962. She is a white female, 5 foot, and 110 pounds. She has brown hair and brown eyes. It is unknown what she was last seen wearing, but she was 14 at her time of disappearance. She had went to Brooklyn Park Senior School. She was a straight-A student who skipped the 6th grade and was very interested in art. It was then when she began falling in with a wrong crowd of people, and she ended up getting into trouble and running away from home multiple times prior to her disappearance. She was born in Baltimore, Maryland, and did not live with her parents. She lived with her grandmother named Olga in the 50 block of Wishing Rock Road. She moved in with her grandmother after having problems at home. She was abused as a child, but her abuser's identity is unknown. She was last seen in Pasadena during the winter months of 1976, and her grandmother Olga told everybody that Karen ran away. Nobody knew she was missing until they reported her absent from school. And she ended up leaving her coat and all of her personal belongings at home. So that's how her grandmother knew something was wrong. Years go by with no leads on Karen Kamsch's disappearance and no other possible information until 2007 when Karen's younger brother Tate contacted police to check on the status and found out that there were absolutely no records of her ever being a missing child. It is unclear to whether or not the report was lost in translation, per se, because of the decades that have gone by since the original missing date, or if there was never a report filed at all. Police had no idea as to whether or not the report was misplaced or destroyed over the intervening 3 decades. And the second missing persons report was filed on May 15th, 2007. Detectives checked a numerous number of computer databases and also obtained her birth certificate and school records, which showed that she went to school up until June 1976. Police began interviewing friends, family, and classmates, and they developed leads that showed that the disappearance was indeed suspicious in nature, and they feared that she was a victim of a homicide. Winter of 76 was one of the coldest yet. It had a very deep freeze that covered the area. Tate Kamsch was only 12 years old when his sister Karen disappeared. He wants to know what happened to her, and until 2007, he just believed what his family had told him. As years passed, nobody spoke about Karen, and it just became a piece of family history stored in the back of their minds, and nobody mentioned it. It was almost as if she literally fell off the face of the earth. The Kamsch's neighbor, Beatrice Hasnai, who was 84 at the time of comment, remembered seeing large amounts of cars in the late 70s and Olga appearing to be crying. She was pretty close to Olga, and she was told that Karen ran away, but for some reason it did not seem like a very big deal to them. Hasnai stated that she had only seen Karen a handful of times, and one time talking to her son, who was about the same age as Karen. The house in which Karen used to live was zeroed in on by investigators of the Arundel Police Department, the Fire Department, and FBI Evidence Collection Team. Unfortunately, her grandmother Olga died in 1999, and Karen's aunt and uncle now live in the house on Wishing Rock Road where Karen had used to live. A search and seizure was executed for the home where 5 foot of debris had been sucked up from a dried up well in their backyard. Cadaver dogs had actually led the police to a dug well on the property, and it was capped off. There were 11 acres of land on the property, and the police began their day-long search of the dug well. Investigators figured that since the well was filled with water, that they wouldn't find any possible remains or any evidence from such a long period of time ago. Instead, they ended up finding evidence that quote-unquote surprised them, and things that they say as quote-unquote things at the bottom of the well that after 30 years were not expected to be found. They had found evidence that she had been killed, and foul play may have been involved because they have no record of her at all after 1976. No set disappearance date makes this case even harder for investigators. Police investigator David Widmeyer had stated that he had already spoke to a person of interest and that it is a close associative or relative of hers. They also believe that she was possibly killed by her abuser. Tate, who lives in Glen Burnie, just wanted to know if his sister is alright, and quote-unquote hopes she's just running away from her situation and living her life. Widmeyer also states that some of the family is cooperating and some are not. Neither parent could be reached for comment in any of the news articles that I had read, and the parents claim that the police instructed them not to speak until the investigation is over. The original statement was that Olga and George Norman Kamsch, which is the father, called the police and made a missing persons report, but there was nothing found on file. I found on Reddit that Karen's mother's cousin says that his mom and Karen were close in age, and in one part of the family they believe that she ran away, and in the other they believe that somebody very close to her had killed her. Classmates of Tate's did say that there were no allegations of abuse mentioned in the 2007 or 2014 reports of her case. Investigators have no idea what happened between the January to June time frame, but they did make a composite sketch of what she would look like today. Dentals and fingerprints are unavailable, but DNA is fortunately available. Some believe she may be Princess Doe, who was an unidentified woman found in the Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown, New Jersey. There is a $2,000 reward for any information on this case. If you or anybody you know have any information, please contact the Arundel County Police Department at 410-222-8050, agency case number 07719-714, or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-843-5678. The police also commented by saying somebody is living with a secret. She is out there and she needs to be laid to rest. There are many possible conclusions that could be drawn from Karen Kamsch's disappearance. The first one is that she was indeed killed by her abuser and it was never spoke about again. And it could have been accidental due to the child abuse she was suffering from, or it could have been intentional because somebody wanted to get rid of her for some reason. Another possibility is that she could have truly ran away and started a new life somewhere where she could forget her past and start anew. And even if she did run away, maybe in the meantime she ran into foul play unintentionally and unfortunately suffered some kind of traumatic injury. Another theory that's less likely, but I have to touch upon it, is that she ended her own life and she committed suicide because she wanted to escape the abuse and the hardships of her childhood. Thank you guys so much for watching this video on Karen Kamsch's disappearance. It is very, very important that we get the word out on her disappearance and spread any kind of information or news that we can. Again, she is female, white, 5 foot, 110 pounds, with brown eyes, brown hair, and is missing since January 9th, 1976. She would be 57 years old today. Please call if you have any information on her disappearance. Thank you guys again, and have a good night.